everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Dave DelVecchio, the VP of Marketing here for Sourcepass, and welcome to our webinar on getting started with Microsoft Loop. As we get started here, just for those that hadn't met me before, I'm a 30-year MSP veteran, and for the last couple of years have been helping to coordinate and for the last year or so kick off these learning series webinars. I've been doing this long enough that I remember such IT milestones as Windows 95 and Y2K. And now we're, in fact, before we were backstage before starting today, we're starting to discuss our calendar for trainings next year. And we're discussing things like AI agents. So, you know, it's amazing to see kind of the continual progression of different technologies. So we're looking forward to bringing you more and more of these sessions as we roll into next year. Joining us today will be Jolynn Renn. Jolynn has been leading the majority of our learning series webinars. She's a certified Microsoft Master Instructor and has a similar history in IT. And has, I'm sure, the same challenge as I do, which is staying on top of these new and emerging technologies. Today's subject is one of those areas that not a lot of people have explored. Microsoft includes a lot of things as part of the 365 subscriptions, and Microsoft Loop is one of those applications that not a lot of users have taken advantage of, but it's a way that you can really help organize all of your information to aid with collaboration, and it's severely underutilized in my opinion. So I too am looking forward to learning more about Loop today. As I mentioned, this is part of our learning series. So we do have 2 series of webinars. Typically speaking, the learning series runs on the second Wednesday of the month, every month. And you can always look for new sessions at sourcepass.com/events. If you're looking for any of our prior sessions, including last month's session, which was the most heavily attended session we've run to date on Microsoft Copilot, you can find those on our website on our video library. Please go to sourcepass.com/video-library to find those. You can also find our prior webinars up on places like our YouTube page. So feel free to visit Sourcepass in YouTube, and you should be able to find our webinars there as well. Couple of webinars we have coming up. The second series is a digital transformation series. Our learning series is designed to get more out of your existing investment in IT. Our digital transformation series tends to look at those areas that you want to be looking out your windshield towards, either emerging technology or areas that you want to focus on when it comes to extending your IT budget in terms of compliance and security. And towards that end, with October being Cybersecurity Awareness Month, this month's topic will be on avoiding penalties and staying ahead of regulations. So if you have to work in the alphabet soup of compliance, whether it's HIPAA or Sarbanes-Oxley or ITAR, CMMC, yada, 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 please join us on October 22nd as we have a panel discussion around the latest in compliance. Jolynn will be back with us in November talking about getting smarter access to data through Excel. And then towards the end of November, note the unique date. It's actually a Tuesday, not a Wednesday, because that would have been the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We'll be talking about how smart companies scale IT. So if you're in a rapid growth business, then that's a great one for you to join as you head into the new year. So just a couple of housekeeping items. The Q&A is active during the session. So if you have any questions, please post your questions in the Q&A and we'll get to them towards the end of the session. And at the completion of today's webinar, you'll receive a link for a survey. We ask you to please provide feedback because your feedback is what helps influence our decisions on what topics we would like to prioritize as we build out the calendar. So we look forward to your feedback. With that, I will turn the floor over to Jolynn for a discussion on Microsoft Loop. Jolynn, the floor is yours.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Dave. And
You're welcome.
as Dave said, welcome to our session on Microsoft Loop. And I agree 100% with what Dave just said about we really want to kind of explore this loop component and figure out what exactly this is. And I think this is an underutilized key application that is part of our 365 suite. So just so everybody can see, I went to my Microsoft account, which you can access by just going to even office.com. A lot of people will have it saved as a favorite across the top. Um, I can get to it from a SharePoint site. There's a lot of different ways we can get to our apps, but it's m365.cloud.microsoft is the application if you don't go to office.com, which takes you both to the same place. But I went to my apps on the left-hand side. So this is all my apps that I have available in my Microsoft account. So from here, I can go to my loop. So you could see that I have this icon. Excuse me. I swallowed wrong. But that if you kind of memorize what that loop icon looks like, it will help you to find it when you're in other places like Microsoft Teams. But when you open the app, what you're going to see is a navigation pane on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I'm actually seeing my current workspaces that I have available. Excuse me. So where I had gone was into one of my current workspaces. The one was called Marketing Department Workspace, and I created the workspace from over on the left-hand side under Create New, just so you're aware. But that's kind of beyond the scope of our class today, but just to give you an introduction to this, if I open up a workspace, an entire workspace can be shared with other people. So it can be a central place that you're going to do brainstorming, kind of think of what is it that we need to do in 2026, or we have this new project we're going to be working on, those kind of things, so that you have one central place that multiple people can have access to. It's organized by pages. So each page can have a name, can have some graphical elements to it, different than a OneNote notebook. But when you're in a page, and I should really kind of show you, let me add a new page. I'm going to go over to the middle part of my window and I'm going to click Add
Jolynn,
New.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I'm so sorry interrupting. Apparently
That's
they
okay.
didn't see anything from the beginning. So if you don't mind just quickly starting over so they can have a clear view of what you were talking about. Sorry about that. It was showing on my end, but it apparently wasn't showing on their end. So I just want to make sure everyone can see everything from the start.
Yes, absolutely. I would be more than happy to do that. So I had started out with just kind of talking about, what exactly are the benefits of Microsoft Loop? So some of the benefits are going to be, and a big one for me is it's real-time collaboration. So when I was just mentioning this workspace and we could have these pages, that's live. So whatever is being done in those pages, whoever you're sharing that with, they can see everything you're doing because it's live collaboration. We can have lists, we can have tables, we can have notes, we can have all kinds of different things included on these different pages. But we can use a loop component all by itself integrated into other applications like Microsoft Teams, Outlook, OneNote, even into a whiteboard. If I'm using a whiteboard for, kind of brainstorming, we're doing some drawing, we could incorporate a loop component there. Once you see a loop component, this will make more sense. But we also have this flexible content creation where that's referring to the fact that we can customize these components, the workspaces, and the pages to match what the needs are for not only yourself, but if you're sharing it with somebody else. So it can be fit for the needs that we have for that specific page based on a specific topic. We will have loop workspaces that we'll also be able to take advantage of that allow us to have a one central location that we can be collaborating with a team of people. It has a integration to a lot of other applications, which is pretty cool. So when we think about how am I going to ever use this, I think once I demonstrate a little bit more, you'll have a better idea, but we could use it to create a list of ideas, a list of projects to launch, future development options. We could use it to design a company guide for new hires, develop a playbook, setting up a task list where we can even assign tasks directly through a loop component. And it gives us easy tracking of progress on things like working on a project and other things. But there's kind of 3 different elements to the loop app. So the whole thing is an app, like we have all of our other Microsoft apps. So one of the elements is going to be a component itself. A component, and I always go like this because they're kind of in a rectangle usually as they start getting built and then they grow to be bigger. But a loop component is an interactive object that sits inside other areas, like sits inside a loop page, sits inside a chat within Microsoft Teams, sits inside an email, a document, a meeting, etc. So it's going to be inside something else. A page goes inside a workspace. A workspace is a shared cloud-based space that we can share with others. And then inside there, we have pages to help us organize our information. So that's what I had started with before I got to this, just so everybody knows. So we should be caught up. So what I was going to do is show you inside a workspace how I can add a page, just so you see the general idea. If I click the plus sign and click page, I'm going to be in an empty page. This is an empty place that we can be putting information in. So let's say that I need to have a page in this marketing department workspace related to social media. So I'm going to title it social media, and then I could just click and start typing if I wanted to, or I could go down to the bottom here, and these are different templates. I could say I want to have a loop component added to this page that is going to be a project brief, or we want to have a place for a team discussion, project planning, meeting notes. I'm going to click meeting notes. It automatically adds a page of meeting notes to this workspace, and it's automatically has a cover, it has the name, but I could change the name, but it has inside it different components that we can interact with. Where if we're going to have a meeting, and this is where we want to store the details for it, I could click under the topic and type in the topics we want to have for the meeting. Also, I could put in a list of who the attendees are going to be. This attendees is a loop component that is automatically created with 2 columns, and it's got multiple rows to it, which of course can grow. It can get bigger. We can even add additional columns to it. And then I have the agenda, I have a notes area, and a task area. Anytime that we have a task loop component, so this whole entire task area is a loop component, we could enter in a task name, and just so you can see how this is going to interact with other applications, let's say that the task is going to be related to LinkedIn, because we're talking social media. I could go over to the add assignee, and I could assign this to anyone that is a part of this actual workspace. So I'm going to say that I want to assign it to myself. Come on. Usually I just, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to do something. Oops. I forgot to do my @ I'm going to say I want this to go to student. Come on. Usually it automatically starts populating. It's not automatically populating, but that can be the speed of my connection here right now. But I'll show you that in another way. I also could put in a date of when that's due by. I could put it into buckets, which is similar to what we have in Planner. So we have this full integration from one app to another. So just so you could see, this is how we could really kind of organize a page and put different components within a page. But I really want to kind of step back a little bit, because what exactly is a component? I keep saying the word, but I haven't really described or shown you what a component can be. So let me show you, because I think this will help make a lot more sense. I'm going to go to Outlook. Let me go to Outlook. and I want to go to a new email. I'm going to create a new email and I'm going to send it to my coworker, student 1, and we need to talk about social media, ideas, and I want to use a loop component for us to be able to live collaborate for these social media ideas. And I'm going to actually put 2026 social media ideas. When I'm in my email, I have my message tab across the top. Notice from my message tab, I have this icon for a loop component. I'm going to click loop component. It automatically adds a loop component to this email, but I can choose how I want it to be organized. I can choose from the templates down at the bottom where I could say I want a table where I can have columns and rows. I want a bulleted list. I want to have a checklist where we can actually click and check something off. We could have a task list. We could have voting tables, numbered list. We can have a Q&A session. And there's even more on the right-hand side where I could have a progress tracker, all kinds of different choices. But let me just start with a very popular one. Let's say that I want to do a checklist. As soon as I choose that, you could see that up at the top, it has the name. Then I could give this a title. So this is going to be based on, let's say that this is going to be based on LinkedIn. We need to come up with ideas, and as we work on these ideas, we can click that circle and it's going to check it as being completed. So I don't even have to put anything in here to get started. I could have my student 1 add to this, but I'm going to just leave it the way that it is right now. I'm just going to send this to my coworker. So what's going to happen then is that person is going to receive it via email. Here's the email that I just sent to student 1. When I open it, here's that loop component. I can be adding things to this loop component as student 1, and I would see it. Now, where am I going to see it? Well, I could go back to that email and see it. Or a loop component can be added to other places. Just because I started this loop component in an email doesn't mean it has to stay here. I could actually copy it to other places. A little bit beyond the scope of our class today, but just so you keep that in the back of your mind. So as student 1, I'm going to come in and I'm going to say that for this 2026 social media ideas, I want to add in gather research, gather info from 2025. I'll just put that in there for right now just so you could see. If I do go back to my sent items, here's that loop component. As soon as I go back to it, what student 1 did is already here. Now, of course, I could come in and add in, I click the plus sign, I could add in another item or press enter after that item, and I could add in things. So we could both be adding in things to this live component called a loop. So let me add in something. I'm going to say catch up on the 4th quarter, whatever I want to add in. I didn't put that in very good, but I'll just leave that for right now. But just so you could see how I could add that in. Now I'm going to actually leave Outlook. Could I get to this loop component other places? 100%. Let me leave this email just so you could see. I'm going to leave email. I'm going to actually go back to my loop app. So I'm back in my loop app online. On the left-hand side, I could go to recent. So I'm in my loop app. If I want to see all loop components that I have used, that I've been a part of, I could actually go to recent and I can see recent components that have been used. I also could go to search if I wanted to search for a specific loop component. So just so you're kind of seeing that they can be viewed and used in other places. I could even create a new loop component here and then copy it into a different place. I could share it. I could copy it into other places. So I'm going to come back to this here again in a minute because I want to show you where a loop component gets used the most. That's going to be in Microsoft Teams. If I go to Microsoft Teams and let's say that I want to create a new meeting. If you've ever done a new meeting, Teams related, you can go to Teams on the left-hand side, go to the calendar. And let's say that I actually want to do a meeting for tomorrow morning at 8:30. I'm going to go to my calendar. I'm going to click where I want my new meeting. I'm going to put in what the meeting's going to be about. And let's stick to the subject of social media right now. I'm going to invite who I want to invite. I'm going to tell the computer that on this little window, I'm going to slide the button over and say I want this to be a Teams meeting. I'm going to maximize this meeting window going to the top right. I'm going to maximize this so you can see the full window of this. Down at the bottom, it says add an agenda. When you click that add an agenda, it creates a loop component. So you can see that it shows the loop icon. You can see that the name of the meeting was added as the name of this loop component, but it has portions to it automatically where we have a place where we can be putting in, I could just start typing, but I could be putting in my meeting notes. I could be doing follow-up tasks. So I could have this be available with an agenda. I could just start typing and adding things in. I have a placeholder for my meeting notes, etc. So let me add in agenda items. So we're going to talk about old business. We're going to talk about new business, whatever. I put in all my agenda items before the meeting because anybody that I invite, they're going to see this. They're going to be able to have access to this. So before the meeting, I use this loop component so that I'm sharing what the agenda items are going to be. Then I'm going to click send. And of course, they'll accept it. We'll start the meeting. What's going to happen during the meeting is as soon as the meeting I go to join the meeting, it's going to open the meeting notes on the right-hand side of the screen. When you do that, it's using this loop component. We're going to see the agenda topics. We're going to be able to have yourself or someone else in the meeting be able to add in the meeting notes. So Cindy talked about blah, blah, blah. We could be typing in all the meeting notes and storing everything right where it should be within the meeting in this easy to use loop component. I also, during the meeting or after the meeting, can come in and put follow-up tasks. So if during the meeting we were talking about, we need to do better communication in LinkedIn, whatever, we could come down and say add task. It opens up this table, just like you saw before, where I can put in what the name of the task is. So we're going to do more communication in LinkedIn. And who am I going to assign that to? Anybody that is invited to this meeting can be assigned. So I can assign it to myself. I can assign it to student one, whoever I'm inviting. Now, for some reason, it's really slow when I'm coming in here finding these people. But what's going to happen is if I assign to student one or one of my coworkers that is attending this meeting, they're going to get a notification that they were assigned to this, and it's going to be added to their to-do, which of course is available through Microsoft Planner as well. So extremely interactive. They could come in and put in, the due date, or somebody could put in the due date of when we want this due by. I could scroll over and I could choose a bucket to organize the tasks, but we could continue to be adding tasks into this even before the meeting, but most of the time it's done during the meeting or after the meeting. And it stays an interactive component part of the meeting, which is so cool. But let me go ahead and just click send. So I did all of this before the meeting, but of course, like I said, I can have this for after the meeting, because when I go to join that meeting, or even if I go back to the meeting and say edit, that component is a part of this meeting. So it's always going to be here. We can always come back and make changes to it. I love that feature, and that is a feature I use every day. Seriously, Monday through Friday, every day I am using this loop component. But notice when I'm on this loop component, up at the top it says social media, and it actually has a link. If I click that link, it takes me to the Loop app. And it takes me directly to this loop component, because all loop components, no matter where you're using them, no matter where you're using the loop component, in an email, in a meeting, in a chat, wherever, they are a part of your loop app. If you're involved, if you're part of that component, you have access to it in your loop app. That's kind of hard to understand until you actively are in there and using this feature, but just so you know that I could go back to it. So here's my marketing ideas that I was working on a little while ago, but here's those meeting notes. You can see here's past ones that I've had. Here's a accounts payable loop component that I was using. Here's a current status of the department training. Here's a different loop component I was using. So I can always go back to my previous loop components at any time that I need to. But let me show you another way that loop components get used quite often, because I don't always come here to the loop app. I'm going to go back to Microsoft Teams because I do use it a lot there. So back here in Microsoft Teams, I'm going to close my meeting. And I'm actually going to go to a chat, because in a chat, I can actually add a loop component. So I could have a group chat going on with 5 different people, and maybe we're having a conversation back and forth about social media. I could do this in a post too, I'll show you that. But just so you could see, I'm going to go back to a previous chat. I have this chat here with student 1. I'll go to this one, and here's a loop component that I had previously used. I'm going to just delete that here real quick. I'm not going to use that one. But let's say that we have this chat that we're doing with this person, and we're going, we have 5 people in this chat, and we're going back and forth with a conversation about social media ideas, blah, blah, blah. We have all this chat going back and forth. I could add a loop component to this chat so that we can have a central location where we can be brainstorming and entering this information. If you look at the icons at the bottom right of a chat, you have the loop component icon. When you click that, you can add a component directly to this chat. As you can see, you have this icons down below, depending on which type of component you want to be adding in. So once again, we have the menu over on the right. I'm going to just show you, because you should check them all out. You can always delete the component, but you should check them all out. You might want to create a page, and then you can just go ahead and add to all all the components to a page just to practice. But just to show you, I'm going to add this progress tracker, just so you can see what you're going to get. It's a table that automatically is coming with columns already created, but we could add more columns, and of course we can add more rows. So you could see up at the top, it's showing us this is the name of it. Because I didn't give it an actual name, it names it loop paragraph, but we could always go back and change the name so it's relevant to what we're putting in it. On the right-hand side, you can see that it says people in your organization with the link can actually edit this, because I'm putting it in a chat, but I could share it outside of the chat. I could actually do a lot of different things, but let me continue on the window here real quick. On the right-hand side, if I decided to delete it, I can click delete. There's a menu of options right here, which is related to the table. I can have a board view, just so you can see. We have different views that we can use with this. So if I want to be using a board view, I can have a board view. If I go back to the top left, click on this drop down, I can also have a calendar view. Unbelievable what we could do with a loop component. I'm going to scroll back up here. I'm going to switch back to table view. We have sorting capabilities. We have filter capabilities. From the ... we can change row height, we can hide columns, we can export this to Excel, we can download it as a CSV. It's kind of crazy the different things that we could do with this. But we would come in and we would type in the details related to whatever it is that you're tracking. So this happens to be related to social media, so I'll put in that we're going to do more with excuse me, we're going to do more with Twitter. I shouldn't be using that, but just so you could see, I could put in who the owner of this is going to be. I can put in what a status would be. It's got drop downs built in. We can have an end date. We can have different blockers if there's blockers related to what it is we're working on. And we can continue to add items. It's actually doing a little tally down here at the bottom too, because this is a progress tracker. We can add in other work areas, but as soon as I send this, I'm going to go ahead and click send. It sent it to student one. Student one can now start participating in this loop component. And now that it was sent, when you look at the component, I still have my views and my filter and sorting capabilities, but at the top right, I could share. I could go into copy where I could copy this component. It's holding it in my clipboard because what if I want this component to also be available, the same component, so any changes get updated wherever it's copied to, I could put it in a OneNote notebook. So let's say that I have this OneNote notebook that I actually want to add it to a page. I come into my page and I paste it. Here's that same loop component. So this loop component can be interactive here. I could paste it in an email and be the same one there. It can be in that chat. It can be copied and used, linked. It's all linked together. So if anything happens here, it's going to happen back there as well. So if I come in and I put in LinkedIn details and I assign that, I can't type this afternoon. Sorry. Seriously, I can't type. I can add in who the owner is going to be. Student one is getting notified, by the way. You could see that it's telling me to give this person access and notify them. Click this message. So if I click there, I can actually share this with, because they weren't a part of this OneNote notebook before I did this. Although I could assign it to them, they weren't a part of it. So it's telling me, you might want to share this with them, otherwise they're not going to know they're assigned to it. So I could say share and notify. So it's going to notify student one, they were added to this notebook and they were assigned to a task within this component. It's pretty crazy. But
Jolynn,
yes.
hi. Oh, we got a couple questions about reoccurring
Yes.
meetings. If you want to get into how they can use Loop in reoccurring meetings, a specific question was, I just wanted to make sure it was answered, was we've been creating a Loop component for meeting agendas. When it is a reoccurring meeting, there seems to be a new component created for each individual event.
Correct.
Is there a workaround for this so that we can use one continuous loop for all events in the series?
No. It's built that way for a reason, because each meeting is unique. You're not going to always have exactly the same things every meeting. So every new meeting on a reoccurrence with a loop component is going to be a new one. There isn't a way to have it be the same one because you wouldn't want it to be, because each meeting is unique. We're going to have different attendees. We're going to have slightly different agenda items. We might have some that are the same, but they're not always going to be. We're going to have different meeting notes, those types of things. So it is doing that for a reason. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then another question came in related to meetings. Can only the staff member who created the meeting apply the loop functionalities?
So if I'm the person that created the meeting, I'll be able to start that agenda, go down to the bottom and start that agenda. But then anyone can add to that. As soon as you slide that button over to say that it's a Teams meeting, that becomes active down below, just so you know. So even if I didn't start it, when I created it, someone else could. As long as it's a Teams meeting, we slide that button over and say it's a Teams meeting, that component at the bottom becomes available.
Good to know. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of interest in learning how to use these on reoccurring meetings. So if you want to add anything else for that topic, please let us know.
Yeah, right now, the big thing is understanding that it is different for each meeting. So the next time the reoccurring comes up, it is going to be unique. Okay. Which I agree with Microsoft on that because it really should be new one each time. Okay.
Another question we got in, sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure everyone's questions are getting answered. So for conferences, it's the same attendees and the same running agenda with to-dos. Can you at least copy and paste the agenda?
So if I have a loop component that has an agenda, can I copy that agenda? Is that kind of what they're saying?
Yeah, it seems like they're asking if you're having a conference and it's the same attendees with the same agenda within that conference, if you can copy and paste the agenda. Can you give us more? Yes, for conference planning. That's what she said. Or
for conference planning. So anytime that you have an agenda, just so you could see too, I can take this whole agenda and click copy.
Okay,
so I
cool.
could copy that agenda and then go and paste it. Can you click and drag the text? Yeah, you can. I just selected the text and I could copy the text and take the agenda items and copy it and paste it and put it someplace else. Absolutely. We get the copy, the copy options.
Great. Thanks so much, Jolynn.
Absolutely. So just a little bit more on where you might use a loop component. I also use them here in Microsoft Teams, going to an actual team. So if I go to a team, I happen to have a team that is related to my marketing department. I have this channel called social media. So if I want to actually be using a loop component inside a Teams channel, one of the ways I can do that is the post tab. If you are chatting back and forth with the group of people that are directly related to this channel, you could go to post in channel, sorry. I would put in what the subject is. So let's say that the subject is going to be LinkedIn for 2026. And in my typing area, I have these icons just like I did in a regular chat. I can click the loop component. So once again, I can interactively have a loop component be part of a post. Whoever has rights to this channel has rights to be able to interact with this loop component directly within that post. So it can be a live updated component. So just so you could see an example of another option, I'll do a voting table just so you can kind of get an idea how some of these are organized. But this voting table gives you a column for what is your idea, the pros, the cons, and then it can have a tally of the votes on the right-hand side. So if I have an idea for LinkedIn where we could do more blog posts on using our products or services, whatever the case might be, what are the pros? More customers. What are the cons? Nothing. We could have people vote just so you can kind of see. But just so you know, this is an interactive item. So let me go ahead and click post so that everybody's going to be able to see it. That's a part of this social media channel of this marketing department team. I use this all the time because I need ways to collaborate back and forth with my coworkers, and I'm in teams all the time. So this is a huge piece of how I use it. But I use it the most in the meetings for that agenda component that got added. That's where I use it all the time. This is my second most common place that I use loop components is in a post in a team. I also use them actively in OneNote notebooks a lot because I can have a shared notebook where we're doing brainstorming and it allows us to do a bunch of things that we can't do in a workspace of a loop app. And I could just have a loop component be a part of that. But keep in mind, the component is an interactive object that can be shared with others, can be copied and pasted into other places, etc. So anyone that has rights to this post can come in here and start adding in their own ideas. This is going to stay available within that post. Okay. So great ideas on, you know, a way to really have a central location that is live. Now, back to the app. The app might make a little bit more sense now that you've had a little bit of an idea of how you can actually use these. So if I go to the left-hand side, I can go just directly to this category called Workspaces. And this is a list of all of my current workspaces. So let's say that you want to create a new workspace that is going to be directly related to something you're working on. Let's say that you're part of a committee. I'm part of a donations committee. I'm going to click Create New Workspace. I would give it a name. I could put a sensitivity label to it. I could share the space with others immediately, or I could add people later. I'm going to say I want to include student one. I'm going to click create just to get it started. You automatically get one page, and you can see on the right hand side, it's just like OneNote notebooks. They really kind of took everything from OneNote notebooks and added it to this Loop app. But on the right-hand side is where I could put in the title, or I could go to the page itself in the pages list. But let's say that first for this donations, we want to put in 2026 donation ideas. And we want to just start typing in some ideas. Here are some ideas of what we could do in 2026. So how does our organization want to spend our donation money? What organizations do we want to donate to? This could be our place where we do all of that brainstorming. If I don't want to just start typing, notice I have this plus sign. If I click that plus sign, I can choose to insert a loop component. So instead of just typing in, maybe we want to create a bulleted list. And by the way, I have Mermaid. That's a different one that's available through the page of a workspace, but just so you could see. I'm going to put in bulleted list. So we just want to have an interactive loop component where we can be adding in bulleted items. So I could say that I think we should be donating to the ABC company. We want to do the Boys and Girls Club. We want to donate to the Y, etc. We could be starting to make this list. But whoever I'm sharing this with, which by the way, they got an email notification letting them know that they had this shared with them and they have a link to get into it. Plus they can go to their loop component and the loop app and have access to that loop component directly through there. So many ways to do it, but just so you could see, we could continue to add in additional components to this page as we need. So I'm just going to press enter a little bit. I could go back to my plus sign and I could choose what type of a component do I want to add in. So here's my mermaid. Okay, just so you could see what that one looked like. So we always go to where it says just start typing, click the plus sign if you want to add in a loop component, just so you could see. Now this is a great place to kind of see what those loop components are, but I got to tell you, this is kind of strange. But if I go to add a loop component in Outlook, Chat, Post, Whiteboard, wherever, OneNote notebooks, you get a different template list than here. I don't know if Microsoft is going to change that so it's consistent across the board. To be honest, I hope they do because we want consistency. And Microsoft is working on that. So hopefully we'll be able to have exactly the same loop components to add into these pages in the Loop app, as well as to the other applications where we can use them. So the big part is get started in a Teams meeting. That's an easy way to understand, but I practiced with a loop component in a chat and via email with other people to say, hey, let's test this out and let's practice so that you could really get a feel for how this works and what you're going to use it for. right away when I learned about them, I thought, not real sure where or when I'll use those. But now I go to create a new email and it's like, well, why would I start typing this list and I want them to add to it if I don't put it in a loop component? I just kind of stop and think, I want to make it interactive. It should be a loop component. And so you'll start to pick up on that as well as you start using this and see more of how you could use it. But Dave, I'm going to send it back to you. Were there any other questions or Kat, were there any other questions that we want to go back and make sure we get answered before we end for the day?
I think Kat presented all of the ones that were submitted. If anybody has any follow-up questions that they want to submit that we didn't get to in the flow, please feel free to either throw it in chat or Q&A right now. But I think we've answered all the ones that have been submitted. One person did ask if we have any trainings on Planner. I believe we actually covered Planner as part of a previous edition. So I think earlier in the chat, Kat had actually shared a link to our video library page. And so you might be able to find some Planner information there as well. If you don't find what you're looking for there and you would like for us to maybe do a reboot or a more in-depth review of Planner, we'll take that suggestion and we'll look at that as we plan out the 2026 calendar.
So, I was just going to say, Dave, just so you know, it was August 14th of 2024 since we've done Planner.
Oh, there you go. So it's been about a year, almost it's hard to believe that's, 14 months ago. Yes. So, but yeah, so it's definitely up in the video library. Then you should be able to find it there. And things do change. As I offered at the outset, Jolynn and I were chatting before we came on stage earlier. And we've been running these sessions for a couple of years. And, for those of us that have been around for a while, we remember when software releases were, Office 97 and Office 2000 and Office 2003 and Office 2007 and Office 2010, where it was like that regular kind of 2 to 4 year cycle. So now with the subscription model, everything kind of gets rolling updates, but you look back over 2 years and what was current 2 years ago might not always be applicable today because they're making changes to these platforms as time rolls on. So we'll look at rebooting that conversation, but do look there. You will be getting the survey following the session. We do ask you to please complete that. Or if you ever have questions and you want to ask, at any time, feel free to just email events at. That email comes to both myself and Kat, who you've heard from on the session as well, and we'd be happy to get back to you. I don't believe, let's see. Here's a question somebody submitted. Do work groups and loops live beyond the life of the user who created them?
When you share them, they are shared with other people.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're yours.
Which I think is a good global answer for most things that are tied to an individual user's 365 account. Yes. The same is true with OneDrive, unless like internal IT or Sourcepass, if we are your IT department, you have an employee leave, unless you take that user's profile and make it viewable by another user, if it gets deleted, it's gone. And that's also a good commercial for the importance of third-party 365 backup. Sourcepass rolled out a 365 opt-out program this month, but we're enabling 365 backup on your account specifically to protect against these sorts of accidental deletions. We get these requests sometimes, and it's hard to be the bearer of bad news, but we actually had a situation with a client a while back where there was a particular file that a particular user would update once every quarter. The person had been let go. Once they were gone for 60 days, their account was terminated. All of a sudden, the next quarter rolls around. Everybody's like, hey, where's the report that so-and-so used to do? They reached out to us to see if we can recover it. And unfortunately, there was no 365 backup in place. And Microsoft does not retain information forever. So because the account was deleted, it was gone. So just be careful. If you're using whatever the tool is, whether it's Loop or a file saved in OneDrive or anything that's tied to a user's profile, quite often, if you don't have those sort of kind of safeguards in place, there are potential risks. So do either share with others on your team or make sure that you have the backup in place so it can be brought back from a recovery standpoint. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Jolynn, thank you very much for your nimbleness at being able to kind of reboot the start and get the ball rolling again. I appreciate that. Do join us again for future webinars. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you, everybody.